is this?
Q.
Q. This is indeed a Q.
Strzok, you said earlier in this hearing you were concerned about a hostile foreign power affecting our election. Do you recall the Intelligence Community Inspector General Chuck McCulloch having an investigation into an anomaly found on Hillary Clinton's emails?
I do not.
All right.
Well, let me refresh your recollection. The Intelligence Community Inspector General Chuck McCulloch sent his investigator, Frank Rucker, along with an ICIG attorney, Jeanette McMillan, to brief you and Dean Chappelle and two other FBI personnel that I won't name at this time about an anomaly they had found on Hillary Clinton's emails that were going to and from the private unauthorized server that you were supposed to be investigating. Now, do you remember it?
I remember meeting Mr. Rucker on either one or two occasions. I do not remember the specific content or discussions.
Well, I'll help you with that too then. Mr. Rucker reported to those of you, the four of you there, in the presence of the ICIG attorney, that they had found this anomaly on Hillary Clinton's emails going through a private server. And when they had done the forensic analysis, they found that her emails, every single one except for four, over 30,000 of them, were going to an address that was not on the distribution list. It was a compartmentalized bit of information that was sending it to an unauthorized source. Do you recall that?
Sir, I don't.
Well, he went on to explain it, and you didn't say anything.
No.
You thanked him, you shook his hand, but the problem was that it was going to an unauthorized source that was a foreign entity unrelated to Russia, and from what you've said here, you did nothing more than nod and shake the man's hand when you didn't seem to be all that concerned about our national integrity of our election when it was involving Hillary Clinton. So the forensic examination.
All right, folks. Hey, welcome to the Patriot Hour. I am Michael, your host. I paused that. We're going to get into that. Interesting. Peter Strzok testified again today for the public, and a couple of the people have hammered him. Gowdy, this guy here we're watching, Robert, Representative Gohmert. Some good stuff. I'm going to skip around here a little bit. I will leave the link in the description box, but welcome to the Patriot Hour. I'm Michael, your host. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Take a look in the description box and take a look in the comment section. Whether you leave a comment or not, great things happen out of there. Very big collective, tons of places of collective ideas, and you can be shot off in many directions in your research, and lots of good truth happens. So we thank all of you for that. Okay, let's get back into this here a little bit.
And they can document that. But you were given that information and you did nothing with it. And one of the things I found most egregious with Mr. Horowitz's testimony, and by the way, Horowitz got a call 4 times by someone wanting to brief him, leaving messages telling him about this, and he never returned the call. He had 500 pages of bias that he gave us, and then he threw a bone to the Democrats and said, but we can't find bias. And let me tell you, when you have text messages, Mr. Strzok, the way you do, saying the things you did, you'd been better off coming in here and say, look, that was my bias. And you kind of get around to that a little bit when you say, hey, you know, everybody's got political views. Those are called biases, and we all have them. And you have come in here and said, I had no bias. And you do it with a straight face. And I watched you in the private testimony you gave. And I told some of the other guys, he is really good. He's lying. He knows, we know he's lying. And he could probably pass the polygraph. It's amazing.
Mr. Chairman.
No, this is my
Mr.
time.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
No, he
point of
upset some
order.
people.
This point of order.
No,
The gentleman will state his point of order.
A member of this committee just asserted that this witness, who is under oath and a former agent of the FBI, lied. There is no evidence that I ask him to withdraw it.
I do not withdraw it.
Stand
He is
before it.
not a member of Congress. It's not a violation of the rule. And just as you have been expressing bias through your members about what a hero
There is not a
he is
single
coming
person on
here
this
and
committee
lying.
who has ever characterized a witness
Gentleman
as
from
lying.
Rhode Island,
Sitting here,
gentleman-
appearing
It's
before
my
the-
time.
That's a disgrace.
Gentleman from Rhode Island will
Praise
suspend.
him. No, the disgrace
Mr.
is what this man has done.
The
to
gentleman
our
from
justice
Texas will suspend for a
There
moment.
is the disgrace.
I concur.
And it won't be recaptured anytime soon because of the damage you've done to the justice system. And I've talked to FBI agents around the country. You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed yourself. And I can't help
In
but
the
wonder
country.
when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
Credibility of a witness.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Have you
Mr.
no-
Chairman, this is intolerable harassment of the
What is
witness.
wrong with that? You need your medication.
The gentleman controls the time.
Well, I ask that the
That's
witness be
awesome.
permitted to respond to
He
that
will be permitted.
despicable
He
assertion.
will be
Did
permitted to
you ever
respond. The
talk
gentleman
to
controls
Hillary
the time.
Clinton during your investigation, besides the one questioning you mentioned, before that or after that to this day?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman will state his point of order.
It is, I think, against the rules of the House for a member of the committee to be impugning the character of a witness.
It is not.
You should ask questions to elicit. The purpose of this hearing is to elicit information. You should ask questions to elicit information. You should not be impugning the character of the witness.
The gentleman is advised the rules of the House only are directed to members of the House and the President of the United States.
It is okay
That's awesome.
to impugn the character of witnesses in any way whatsoever?
Well, listen, I've heard many members on your side of the aisle impugn character of somebody who is covered by the rules of the House. But the gentleman, the gentleman has 20 seconds left. The clock will be turned back on, and he can complete his time, and then the witness can respond.
So if you talk to Hillary Clinton, other than the time she was examined in front of the witnesses.
No.
So after throwing away what you have with all the bias you have, you've never even gotten a thank you. I yield back.
The gentleman may respond.
Never even got a thank
Sir,
you.
well, that's quite a set of statements. and
Mr.
I'm not quite
Chairman,
sure
I
where
did
to
not
respond.
finish with a question.
The
There was
gentleman,
no question asked.
Mr.
There's
Chairman,
no
he's been given the
answer
opportunity to
needed.
the
respond.
gentleman will suspend. The time of the gentleman has expired, and as I've
The
indicated
rules
earlier,
of our hearings are if there is a question asked during the time, the witness may respond to the question
Witnesses-
after the time.
the witness is going to be allowed to respond briefly.
That's a new rule.
Sir, first, I assure
No
you,
question.
under oath,
No question.
as I spoke also during my interview a week or two ago, I have always told the truth. The fact that you would accuse me otherwise, the fact that you would question whether or not that was the sort of look I would engage with in a family member who I have acknowledged hurting, goes more to a discussion about your character and what you stand for and what is going inside you.
It's
and the
to
integrity
your
of man.
credibility,
That's-
and
while-
you lost your credibility.
Both
And
individuals.
while I
You
doubted-
lost your credibility.
While
That's
I doubt
the
it
problem.
plays well
Gentleman
to
from
America,
Texas
I'm not sure
will
it plays
the
well.
gentleman from
Liar.
Texas will suspend. The witness has had ample opportunity to express his feelings about that, and now the chair recognizes. the
Mr.
gentleman.
Chairman, there is a
Joyce.
discussion about the representative's first assertion about what the ICIG said that I would like to respond to.
Very briefly.
Very briefly, I have no recollection of that conversation. I
recollection.
can tell you I am not a computer forensic expert. I can tell you that every allegation that we had, and ICIG was a great and close partner, every allegation that we had, whether from them or anybody else, was forwarded to experts who looked at it. The scores and scores of servers and BlackBerries and emails and everything we got were combed over carefully by the FBI's experts to see if there's any indicia of injury.
But you don't recall
The things
going
you're saying,
over
sir,
those emails, correct?
Much
Gentlemen,
of what you're
will
saying, I
suspend.
have no idea what you're talking about, and frankly,
And the-
this
and the
is
witness will
wrong.
suspend as well.
I do not know what you're talking about.
That
you
is
just
enough.
can't let a witness
The-
go on forever.
the-
when the fact is, you never did anything
Chairman,
about those,
order.
correct?
Regular order.
All right. So you get the gifs of that. It is kind of hilarious. They're bringing personal attacks into this guy for his family. If he was having an affair, that he had to have been lying. Tons of these people, I think, Rosenstein lied, Comey lied. They all want to act like they're in these positions where they wouldn't, and nothing was biased. Well, heck, you're using the government phones for these conversations with your significant other. Right over your government work phones, you were bashing the president. This goes well outside of, work-related kinds of things going on throughout the day. And to see him sit there with that smirk, and it's just unbelievable. These people are horrible, horrible bad actors. They're not good. Of course, they're still lying. They're going to lie to the end. They're going to defend their position. Now, we're told that Peter Strzok was a cooperating witness. We'll see if there's still things. I don't know if it's still being investigated at this point or not, but here he is speaking, and this is a second time. I think they're bringing him back in for contempt, they were saying. I read something earlier. Let me see here if I can... see here. Give me 1 second. All right. That is old. Spelled his name wrong. All right, FBI Peter Strzok denies claim of bias. Embattled FBI agent Peter Strzok defiantly defends himself. Says political bias claims are unwarranted. There's no reason for anyone just to be thinking that. All of the text messaging says it. All right, 7 key moments from the hearings today. All right, I mean, I've been watching. I got some. I mean, check out the Trey Gowdy. The one I just showed you there was a little wild. So, all right, the post has been updated. FBI agent Peter Strzok had his moment on an extremely hot seat Thursday morning. He had the hearing. It quickly developed into some yelling, interjections, and just some preliminary maneuvering. So anyway, we had the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Strzok sought to explain his anti-Trump text messages at the time when he was the lead agent on the FBI's then nascent Russia investigation in 2016. He was removed from the investigation in 2017 after those text messages with fellow FBI employee Lisa Page, with whom he was having an affair, were discovered. Republicans, including President Trump, have seized upon Strzok's text, which included allusions to stopping Trump, as evidence of a biased and even corrupt law enforcement investigation. Here are the key moments from the hearing so far, and we'll update this post as the hearings it was still in progress, I guess. So number one, the contempt threat. It didn't take long for a hearing to explode after the opening statements. House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy, Republican out of South Carolina, lodged his first question. How many people did Strzok interview during, representative out of South Carolina and a Republican, but how many people did Strzok interview during his first 8 days of the FBI Russia investigation between July 31st and August 8th? Strzok was previewed in his opening statement, said he had been advised by the FBI's lawyers that he was not to address specifics of what was still an ongoing investigation. So that leads us to believe if there's an ongoing, I'm not sure why, because people are begging and begging for him to come and talk, but the investigation is still ongoing. The investigation was handed over to special counsel Robert S. Mueller III in the mid-2017. Republicans quickly objected and threatened to hold Strzok in contempt. Democrats noted that it was unusual that Strzok be asked to disclose such details in a public setting. Strzok said he didn't have to answer that question because, despite being subpoenaed by the committee, he had previously said he wouldn't speak voluntarily. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe I am here under subpoena, Strzok said. I believe I am here voluntarily. Based on that, I will not answer that question. Democrats argued that a witness such as Strzok would not be expected to publicly disclose sensitive information like the blueprint for a hydrogen bomb. Another move to adjourn the hearing less than an hour after it began. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Robert Goodlatte out of Virginia finally said that Strzok would be recalled to the committee after today's hearing so that he could determine whether to hold him in contempt. But the tone was set. Strzok's angry retort, it is deeply destructive. FBI agent Peter Strzok explained the context of his text messages about Trump on July 12th and said his personal beliefs never factored into his actions. After more than 20 minutes of maneuvering and posturing following the subpoena decision, Gowdy ended his interrogation of Strzok, and Strzok was given the floor to respond. In a minutes-long retort, he called Gowdy's and his Republican allies' allegations of bias and improper actions deeply destructive. But what he did isn't deeply destructive, If you think about that, he wants to explain his text, when it was asked, like, what do we, is he going to win? No, we'll stop it. We'll stop it. And maybe, we know he didn't, but he probably tried really hard. And that's the funny thing about it. Even though, you might try to rob a bank, you might try to rob the 7-Eleven. Don't do that. But some people try and some people fail. They trip in the parking lot. They just get hemmed up by some good Samaritan. The person still gets hauled off and goes to jail and serves time for their would-be crime. So it's not one of the matters where people be like, well, he tried, but he never made it. He never stopped Trump. So I don't know why you'd be, talking to another FBI agent. We'll stop it. No, we'll stop it. And we're going to go on to plan B and try to stop it. And just because it didn't work, gives him a little bit of, that's why he keeps sticking with the story of none of that talk really came into action. But we kind of saw a lot of action. So moving on here, Strzok concluded that his accusation against him and the line of questioning deeply corrodes what the FBI is in the American society, the effectiveness of their mission, and is deeply destructive. Some in the room applauded. So number 3, we had a perjury accusation and a very personal attack. Louis Gohmert out of Texas, Republican, seized upon Strzok's contention that his text didn't demonstrate personal bias, and he said that the argument amounted to him lying. When Democrats noted that Gohmert was basically accusing Strzok of perjury, given he made that claim under oath, Gohmert was unbowed. Then he got personal, very personal. When I see you looking with a little smirk, I wondered how many times did you look so innocently into your wife's eyes, right? So we saw that video. That's when I showed you. So in response, Strzok acknowledged hurting someone he described as a family member. So the transcript threat. Democrats demanded that Republicans show them a rule that prohibits releasing the transcript from Peter Strzok's closed-door interview, or they will release it. One of the subplots here has been Democrats pushed to release the transcript of Strzok's previous closed-door testimony. They argue that it has been selectively leaked and described to impugn him. So at one point earlier on the hearing, Republican David N. Cicilline, DR out of Rhode Island, said he intended to release the transcript himself and asked whether there were any reason he couldn't. Goodlatte stressed that it was the committee's practice and that there was an agreement to keep closed-door hearings private while an investigation is ongoing. Cicilline's response: we intend to release this transcript unless someone presents some rule that prevents us from doing so. And we'll give you till 5 this afternoon to present that. He said, otherwise we intend to release it. Eventually, Cicilline got some backup from the GOP Republican Mark Meadows, North Carolina, who happens to be the head of the conservative House Freedom Caucus. It's worth noting that Goodlatte's justification that the committee's investigation is ongoing was the same one Strzok offered for not answering questions about the special counsel Russia probe. In the latter case, apparently Republicans didn't think it applies. All right, making him read his own text. It took 5 minutes to force Strzok to read some of his own texts, including ones that use basically vulgar. So the guy is, not refusing or, just took him minutes to read his own crap. The F word, talking about Trump. Strzok paused and asked how he should handle it, then finished. Then we asked him to read it again. Sir, was that not... You just want to hear from me to repeat it? Please. Okay, sir, sure. Strzok shot back snidely, happy to indulge you. So he read back these F-bombs. And so 6, a Democrat says Strzok should get a Purple Heart. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that is unbelievable. 7, this is not Benghazi. Trey Gowdy grilled FBI agent Peter Strzok on July 22nd. Bonnie Watson Coleman, a Democrat out of New Jersey, interjected and yelled at him to leave it alone. This is not Benghazi. So there you go. There's your 7 most talked about or, the most heated moments during the hearing, or some of the greatest moments, or wild moments. So anyway, there we go. We had Peter Strzok actually testify, but now he had it in his head that he was there on his own behalf, so he didn't really have to answer things, and he promised the FBI that he wouldn't, and he's not a liar. Take his word. His text, they were just his personal life. He didn't really mean anything by it. It never interfered with his work. So good for him. I think he's lying as well. So we're going to stay tuned on some of that, folks. We're going to stay tuned for any more breaking news, any more, what's going on with the investigation that's still ongoing. That's what we want to find out. The one that's going on behind the scenes. So, Huber, where is Huber? It's all coming. Okay, I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. We're nearing the 25-minute mark, a little over what I normally like to do, but keep them short and simple for you. Could always do multiple videos instead of super long ones, other than the Patriot Hour that we try to do once a week. Again, we're still trying to coordinate on some schedules. I'm going to be getting in touch with Scott been possibly and seen what we can do. Thanks for stopping by. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, give us a thumbs up. Check the description box. The website has been down. It's going to be back up here in next 24 hours or so. But please check the description box. There's still the donation links if you'd like to leave a donation, and some of the great articles, QAnon, Q clearance. We got the pub there. You can look at all the old posts. I got the link for the Q Calm Before the Storm book, The Storm. It's a collective of all the posts and tons of side-by-sides and bakers and just all the whole community. So check that out. All right, again, God bless, Godspeed, and good night to each and every one of you. And we'll see you back here real soon at the next update video for the Patriot Hour.
You know what letter that is, Grover?
I think so.
What letter is this?
Q.
Q. This is in